All right, welcome back. Today we've got another one of our students in our coaching program, Mr. Rob Warfield. Rob, thanks so much for jumping on with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Brandon. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So Rob, before we jump into the interview today, walk people through what market you're in and a little bit about the marketplace.
Sure. I'm in Greenville, South Carolina, and we're tucked between just south of Charlotte, just north of Atlanta. We're about 3 hours from the beach and 2 hours from the mountains, and it's a great little town and growing like crazy. Everybody up north's moving down here right now, and marketplace is on fire. Extreme sellers market, as I think it is in most of the country. Our median price is about 250,000. Days on market right now is about 54. We're doing a lot of, we're rocking and rolling.
Awesome. I love it. So listen, Rob, I want to walk people through that are going to watch this, because a lot of realtors will watch these interviews to see, hey, what are other agents that are succeeding? What are they doing? So I want to tell your story, Rob. Before we do that, how did you learn about, the work that I do? How did you learn about that in the beginning?
Yeah, I actually started my own team at Keller Williams in 2018 and had a rough year in 18. It was, I went from being on a really big team. I was doing 20, 30, I was kind of averaging about 35 closings a year. And those leads were just being fed to me, right? That was just the guy who's buying internet leads, and I was just servicing them. And I'm really good with buyers, right? I can handle those pretty well. I got real good at that real fast, and negotiating and everything. And it was a great thing for me to do. And then when I started my own team in 2018, I was like, all right, we've got a pretty solid 100, 150 people in our database, and I'm really going to, prospect to them. That didn't work out so well. So really, I was like, all right, got to add another pillar into the business here. What are we going to do? And I actually found you through YouTube, through YouTube videos. I think I heard you might have been on a podcast somewhere. I can't remember exactly where, but it was weird. It was kind of like I saw a YouTube video. I had, I wanted to do FSBOs. And then I heard you somewhere else, and I heard you somewhere else. And it was like you just kind of been on these interviews. And I was like, I got to check out this Braden Mulrenin guy, like no idea how to say your name.
Right.
And so I was like, oh, I'm going to check this out. And what really got me was YouTube, listening to you in live calls, setting these appointments, your style, your approach, your posture, just the whole way you went about it. I remember turning to my wife, and I'm like, I watched like your videos all day. And I came home and I still had my AirPods in, and I'm like eating dinner, like watching your videos. And I just turned to my wife and I was like, this is it. This is it. I'm doing this.
That's
So it was
awesome.
done.
So
Yeah.
very cool. So, thanks for the kind words. I'm just kind of curious before you started using what you're learning with me. I'm always kind of curious to see, what was your approach before to go out there and prospect to generate new listings?
Yeah. I mean, I was trying to follow a 33 touch, KW 33 touch. I'd been through bold a few times. I'm trying to use those bold scripts, and it never fit with me. It never matched up with, with my thing. I did it. I tried it. There was nothing consistent about it. I would just kind of try it. And, it's actually a funny mini side story is, as I was calling for sell by owners, trying to use those scripts, I was realizing how I was getting shut down, or how people, I could, emotional intelligence wise, I could tell people just weren't hearing me. They just didn't, want me to be on the phone with me. And what was interesting was I started kind of coming up with well, I know you're doing your thing, but what about down the road if you have do you need a backup plan? Do you have and I actually have like in my notes from a couple of years ago, like create backup plan, my own. And as I heard your stuff, and it was like, whoa, backup plan, wait a minute, what's going on here? And oh, wait a minute. And you had a whole system behind it, the scripts, the words, the whole, the approach. I was like, this is it.
Got it. Yeah. So that's funny. It's so ironic. So what was it about, the bold scripts or what you were learning through that system that maybe didn't fit maybe who you were? Can you tell me a little bit more about what you mean?
It was aggressive. It was very aggressive. It was the kind of an old technique. I feel like they've been passed down, from Mike Ferry and stuff like that. Like just
Yep.
close them on the phone, and if they're not ready to go right away, cut to the next one. Just you got to do now business, now business, now business, and they were just I'm not going to name any names, but who kind of had those
Yeah.
scripts, and her posture with for sale by owners was a very and I just consider it very aggressive. And it's not my personality. It just didn't fit with me. It didn't match my integrity.
Yeah. Well, and I would agree with you. I think, Rob, as much as the consumers don't like to be sold for decades of salespeople using these high pressure approaches, as salespeople, we don't like using them either. And I think, to your point, it's what's being taught in the real estate industry still in 2021. You've got mega players. I mean, huge mammoth of a company teaching their salespeople these techniques that, quite frankly, no longer are effective with today's consumer, because, quite frankly, the consumers today are stronger than most salespeople.
Yeah. And just on a side note of that, it was also a numbers game. It was always a numbers game.
Yeah.
And though it is, your approach is more of a relationship game. Build the relationship. Some will work out, some won't. And we know with the pyramid, I actually have the pyramid on my wall here. Like, I know at the end of the day, 100 FSBO leads, I'm going to get 4 listings, right? And we know the percentages all the way down. But that approach was just like hammer. And it had to be 20 leads a day. Do your bold 100s, and it was just it was hopefully something will come out on the other end. And I didn't want to have hope. Like, I wanted to have a real system that the numbers in my mind needed to work.
Yeah. And you're exactly right, Rob. When you talk about the numbers game, right? This was my other issue with the old approach versus the approach that I teach now. It's not that, Rob, it doesn't work. The problem is it takes a lot of the numbers, right? It takes 50, 60, 80 contacts a day forever to get to the point where you're listing properties in high volume. And you and I both know the reality of a real estate agent doing that day in and day out is so unlikely. So it's not that the approach, you and I would agree that we don't like to sell that way. The consumers don't like it. There are some agents that succeed with it, but the likelihood of an agent sitting there 4 or 5 hours a day making call after call is very, very unlikely. And so let's talk about the approach, the reverse selling approach. And I believe, and I think you would agree, it's a way of selling that's more effective, more efficient, and it gets the prospect or the consumer to respond better. Can you walk the audience through why that is? Like some of the ways we approach prospecting that allows prospects to not be as threatened.
What I've found is in kind of the other techniques, I'm on the phone telling somebody something, as opposed to using questions to draw out whatever it is that they may be going through, or the issue, or whatever the things are. So I can't, as a real estate agent, I know that I solve problems. My job is to solve a problem. But if I'm just hammering at you and not literally listening, that I can't solve a problem. I don't even know what it is. So in drawing out questions and using that Socratic method, and really, knowing what you're getting into. And that was the other thing, qualifying, right? And if I can use Socratic method, and all of a sudden I start feeling like this person's not, not, as you say, they've got to be nice. They got to be sane.
They got to be reasonable. Yeah.
Reasonable. And all of a sudden I'm talking to somebody, and I don't have time. I don't have time and I've been through enough transactions that you start to get those feelings of, wait a minute, this isn't, I'm not really hearing what I want to hear. But the only reason that I got to that point is because I was using the reverse prospecting or reverse selling system, in that I'm drawing out answers, and then I'm making evaluations based on that. And then also asking questions that help kind of lead them to where ultimately we want to go, which is an appointment.
Yeah, I love it. So what you're saying is you went from an approach before that was telling based to now a question based sales system. And like we always say, telling is not selling. Selling is a process of understanding, not convincing. And that's what the prospects and the consumers today really respond well to, because what we talk about all the time is people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. When you're asking questions and you're actively listening, and the prospect's doing all the talking and you're doing all the listening, that's the only time a real human connection can be formed. And I think so many real estate agents are still using this old approach, trying to control the conversation by doing all the talking, and ends up with a lot of prospects probably hanging up on them. Would you agree?
I agree. I've been hung up on, right? And you get to that point.
Yeah.
And what I found also interesting in just the basic scripting of everything is that there is kind of a beginning, a middle, and an end, right? And
Right.
you have those things. And in my scripting, and I have it right here, like, I don't know if you can see, like, these are my script books, and I have them right up, next to me. But I know what I'm about to, and I call it the big question when I get to
That's
the big
right.
question, right? With the market being so good right now, and
That's
like
right.
I go into that, right? And so, but I know when I'm kind of in that questioning, I'm questioning, and then it's like, all right, let's see. Okay, they've passed that marker, and I have it on here. Even has as qualifier 1, qualifier 2. All right, they've gotten through those 2 gates. And so what it does for me is it empowers me in my real estate business. If I want that person to get through that second gate, I let them through. It has nothing to do with me chasing them, right? I'm asking, and then I'm asking for the appointment, or to work with them further down the road, or get their email, or whatever it may be. So there's always, I love that you have this overall schedule, and I guess skeleton of an approach, and I could clearly see where we were going with this.
Well
And
said.
it
Yeah.
just it
Yeah.
just
Well,
worked.
well said. I
It
mean,
felt, it feels right.
yeah, you're talking about a process for prospecting. There's an actual process for prospecting, and it's so true. I think that for a lot of students, I don't know if you feel the same way, but for a lot of agents that use this approach, it's actually easier for them to prospect, because that now this is who we are innate as human beings. And so when we come from a place of contribution by asking questions, that's really who we are anyways. And
Mhm.
when we're just learning how to articulate that to strangers. Would you agree?
I agree wholeheartedly. Yeah. Mhm.
All right. So let's talk about, since you and I have been, how long you and I have been working together now?
I started with program, and it's funny. I was trying to think yesterday. I think it was early to mid 2019, so it might have been May 2019.
Got it.
Um, but my 18 was a rough year. So you're gonna ask about production?
Well, I'm just kind of curious what things look like today, as a result of us working together, whether it be buyer, seller, what does the business look like? Yeah. I mean, can you walk us through just from a high level what that might look like?
Yeah. So again, coming from kind of a buyer based on everything, and kind of working with past clients, working with Sphere, I was doing a lot of buyer business, and when that dried up, or when I just didn't have anything coming from my Sphere, I didn't have another pillar to go after. So I actually, early in 2018, I started going after expireds. I feel like I made 7 million calls somewhere. I mean, that's probably the right number. It felt like a lot,
Yeah.
and got 3 listings, and one of them sold, and 2 were super high end. Again, my median price is 250. Got a listing, a $1.3 million home, and then a lot that was the same owner. It was like $750,000 lot up on the top of a mountain.
Hard to sell.
Hard to sell, right?
Yeah.
And it was funny. I mean, it expired multiple times. I was like the
Yeah.
4th agent, but I'm calling expireds, right? And they invited me in. I got the listing. So to fast forward, in 2000, so did about 7 transactions in 18, which just was miserable. After
Sure.
doing 30 and then going to 7, I felt like
Yeah.
I'm going to be out of business here. Like, I'm in trouble. And
Yeah.
then after starting the FSBO domination program and just really consistently doing it, and I wanted to say too, it's not just the scripts and the calls, inside your program, becoming the person you need to become. Who is the guy that sells 30, 40, 50 houses a year? What does he look like? How does he dress? What does he eat in the morning? And that kind of thing. I really dove into that. in like you say, sweating, getting up early, focusing on your goals, focusing on your affirmations. And that was all kind of new for me. I'd never really done it. I'd done it a little bit, but not in a structured manner. And so amazingly, in 19, we did, sorry, I got everything written down here. So about 3.8 million, went from about 1.8 million in sales to 3.8 million in sales.
Wow.
And then in 20, we did 3.6, but that was 15 sides. So a lot more sales, just price wise. But so we went from basically, 7 to 9 to 15 in a very kind of quick pattern. And my goal this year is 33. And I realize that's a big jump, but I also know what it's going to take. And I know exactly the amount of calls I have to make. I know that, we've got a whole marketing campaign now and it's a personal sphere and 33 touch that I don't do anymore. My wife's actually in the next office over, and she's kind of taken over that side of it. So, I am now kind of prospecting and client facing. And then she's kind of admin back office and doing all that, but making sure everybody. I was terrible at keeping in touch with my database for years.
Right.
And once I said, all right, I'm going to do that pillar and for sale by owners very seriously, it just started to ramp up. And now we've got 6 under contract in the first 2 weeks of January.
Unbelievable.
So, things are looking good.
That's great, Rob. That's such a cool story. And to add to that, the cool thing that I heard was, from 18 to 19 to 20, not only did your production increase or get back to the levels that you're used to, but this was on your own. This was not, on a team. So I don't know what the financial structure looks like at your company, but I would imagine you're going to need to keep more of the money, you and your wife, on your own than you were when you were on a team. Would that be accurate?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So that all helps out too. So walk us through, what sources of business? So you're working your database, you said, for sale by owners. Are you working any other lead pillars right now?
So working Sphere, past clients, for sale by owners. And then I actually added in expireds, and I'll be honest, our expireds, I got the data and I kind of looked back through it over the past several months. It's not even one a week.
Wow.
Some weeks we have 0 expireds. And I just said, it doesn't look like something to go after. So
sure.
One of my goals, I'm actually going to move over toward the divorce attorneys and assisted living. And we actually have a geo farm that we're farming as well.
Awesome. And that's great. I love that you're doing that, because I tell every agent, and I think you probably see this too, is that I would say probably 80 to 90% of the industry just does business with their friends and family. And so whatever comes in, that's what they're going to do. So I always recommend an agent have at least 3 pillars of business, and no more than 5. And so you and your wife are right there. So that's really cool. So walk us through, what does an average day look like for you from a lead generation standpoint, and then meeting with clients? What does an average day look like for you these days, Rob?
Yeah. So I always try to get up in the morning between 5 and 5:30. And I'm actually either work out, at home in kind of a home gym, either outside or inside, depending on the weather. And then, I'm doing affirmations in the morning. And I've actually kind of fallen in love with a cold shower. I do cold showers now, and that's changed my world. That's actually another thing that, it's funny with you. I'd never even, it was a lot of these things I had heard of before, but never actually put into an actual, I'm going to do this, I'm going to put it in my system. I remember watching a thing where, like, Tony Robbins has this thing in his house where he like jumps in and ice, like
that's right.
He has like a tank in in every one of his houses. He's got like this cold water tank. And I remember watching it going, that's a little, okay, that's different. But I was curious, like, what is that? And then all of a sudden you start preaching cold showers, and I'm like, oh, I get it now. Okay. Yeah. I totally get it. And so, yeah, cold shower. Try to get the office between 8 and 8:30. I call the new FSBOs right away. I call the old FSBOs. I'm reaching out to. Absentee was the other one I didn't mention.
Cool.
So I get on the dialer, call absentee owners, and then just kind of circle back with people that Sphere, somebody that I've got a 33 touch where I try to touch everybody in my database 4 times a year with a phone call.
Love
and
it.
then they're getting emails and everything and that kind of stuff. So I go back and actually do my my 33 touch calls. Actually set an appointment, listing appointment this morning with a past client that's like, oh my gosh, we didn't realize the value of our home's gone up so much, and we're really curious on what the value is. And I kind of gave them a rough idea, and they're like, we're ready to cash in. Like, let's take advantage
That's
of it.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
Good for you. So your prospect in the morning, do some lead follow-up, and then our afternoons typically spent for face-to-face interaction with your clients and prospects.
Exactly. So it's really the structure that it's, I do like I seek in the morning and then I serve in the afternoon. So that's kind of the way I think about it. So I'm seeking business, and then I'm either serving existing business, or I've got preview appointments lined up, between 2 and 5, something like that. So I really try, I have it written down on my desk. I mean, I try to stick to that structure as much as possible. I actually have a board inspired by Joe Bennett. He showed a board at one point in time, and 2 to 5 p.m. all of, and he showed that, and I just took his exact board and mimicked it up here on my wall. And I write them down, and I know when they're coming. And it keeps me, okay, I want to get 4 on the board or 5 on the board. And I try to get 5 on the board every week. So I'm trying to get 1 appointment a day. And that's the goal.
I was just going to ask you. So are you, your average week, I know we're ending the first month of 2021, but applying what you've learned, are you pretty close to that, getting 3, 4, 5 appointments a week, would you say?
So what I've realized, and I did kind of an analysis at the end of December, like, where am I and what do I need to work on? What's going on? So I've kind of gotten into this nice routine, and I've realized that my skill is not where it needs to be. So my actual skill on the phone and even doing live videos on Facebook, kind of watching myself, looking back and just hearing myself. I'm like, man, that guy, he's okay, but he's not great. And I want to be great. So what do I need to do? And it's really adding in a role play partner, adding in some more, just some skill-based things. So because and it's funny, you go over every week in our coaching, okay, there's the moment where, you could have gone for the appointment.
That's right.
Did you hear that, guys? Like, that was the seller telling you, like, let's get together and have an actual listing appointment. And that's where I'm even my years kind of in the business, I miss it sometimes. And I do the, like, okay, maybe I don't want to go over, and I play, but I should just go, right? I should just, I think I remember you saying at some point in time, like, when in doubt, go.
Yeah.
And a couple other guys in the group, I've seen him post things where it's, it's like, I wasn't sure about this one. When in doubt, go. And the next thing they know, they've got a listing and 2 buyers from the list. It's like, it just kind of happens. I also kind of wanted to say, what's happened with my for sale by owner listings is they've loved my approach. It's been so different than everything they've heard. I keep hearing this over and over again, like, man, the other people that are coming in are completely different than your approach. And they're so aggressive and they want us to sign right now, or, whatever it may be. But you show us this flex program, this, smart seller program, and there's all these programs, and it just makes so much sense to them. They always say that to me, that I end up forming such a great relationship with them that I end up helping them on the next house. And I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, I think in one of the coaching things, my most recent for sale by owner got the listing. It's under contract now. And then I just actually this morning got back from showing them houses, and they're going to buy like a 7-acre farm with, maybe another property next door. And so that one, making that one call is going to lead to 3 sales. Which that doesn't happen very often, right? I mean, that's
phenomenal. It's phenomenal. Yeah, so. I love it. And I like the way you articulate it too, Rob. I mean, I just so in alignment with, that's the feedback we get from our prospects when we use this methodology that you and I are talking about today. It's funny how prospects used to, give us a ton of pushback to now, like, almost thanking us for calling, thanking us for seeking them out or prospecting them, where all the other agents, for whatever reason, just still are missing the boat. So are the 6 deals you have under contract, are they mostly listings, buyers, a little bit of both?
2 listings and 4 buyers.
Yeah. Cool. Very cool. So, what would your advice be? I'm curious, what would your advice be to an agent that might be new to prospecting, that keeps hearing from everywhere, oh, the phone is old school. You don't need to prospect. Do you still, first off, Rob, do you still think that the phone is still king when it comes to sales? That's my first question. Or do you think there's something different that in an hour from now, you could actually talk to 8 to 10 motivated sellers some other method outside of the phone?
Uh, Without a doubt. I mean, I don't think there's a way in any way that you can walk in your office, get on the phone, and potentially be at an appointment in 15, 20 minutes. And I've done those to where I'm on the phone and the guy's like, hey, can you meet me right now? And it's like, click,
Right.
absolutely. I'm out there, right?
Yep.
I'm running out the door
Yeah.
because you just know, I mean, there's no other way to communicate with another human that easily. And the big thing that got me too was I remember you talking about, hello, the for sale by owners have raised their hand, right?
That's right.
I want to sell my house, and the expireds are the same, but expireds they get so beat up by people. If you're not there that moment, like you say, on the phone
Yeah.
at 7:59, calling those first expireds, like they're getting hammered so hard. But our approach to the for sale by owners is they may have been getting calls, but they're not actually getting hammered. And then when we come up with a different way of talking to them, I can't tell you how many people have said, the reason I invited you over today is because you were just different. You just sounded different on the phone. You had a different approach, a different demeanor. You weren't trying to push me into anything. And so the phone is king. I don't think that's ever going to go away. And that's it.
Yeah, I love it. I could tell you're on fire this year, Rob. All the stuff you got going on, you seem like everything's organized. I guess going back to the second part of that question, what advice would you give to a new agent who believes that they need to pick up the phone, scared, shitless to do it? I mean, they are just scared. What advice would you give them if you were coaching them?
So this is interesting. In having been through doing a lot of phone calls and having been through Bold and like the whole thing, which is our like King Keller Williams training program, I still had a fear of the phone, which seems crazy, right? It seems wild, but I never felt like I had the right words, and I don't know how else to say that. Like I felt like I didn't want to feel stupid and stumble over something and miss a script or miss a line, and then I realized they don't know that I'm going to say the next line. They have no idea what I'm going to say, right? And so what my real approach when I'm on the phone is it's very conversational. It's very back and forth because I'm asking them questions, right? And so it's kind of like you ask them a question, they give you an answer, maybe you give them a small kind of reply, and then you finish your answer with a question. So it just keeps it just keeps it moving forward down the line. So I feel like all right, they're there. All right, through that first qualifier gate, through the second qualifier gate, are you willing to pay a buyer commission? The guy says no, thanks. Okay, next. That's a qualifier.
Just a process.
Right?
Yeah, that's right.
And I didn't have to spend more than 10 seconds on the phone with the guy to figure that out.
Yeah.
I mean, other people might have, hammer him on the phone, get over all the way to his house. And then you realize he's never going to pay a commission. He just wanted to show you his pretty house. I've been there before. I've done that.
Oh yeah.
So my answer to that new agent who is fearful, guess what? That fear never goes away. And Brandon, you've said that before.
Oh yeah. 100%.
I don't care who you are. You get butterflies in your stomach making the first call. I have a wall. I have a sliding door here between my wife and I's office, and I have a wall of inspiration. And I get myself excited and jacked up and pumped up to get on my first phone call. The first phone call is the Band-Aid. I'm going to rip that Band-Aid off. And then third, the fourth, the fifth, you're just kind of in the flow at that point in time. So I guess my advice would be get the script book, read it out loud, write it down, whatever you got to do to get comfortable, just knowing kind of what the next sentence is going to be or something like that.
Yeah.
You got that script book. Your words are so good. People don't even realize what a master you are and how you've done so many calls and you've formed that over time, that just use the words and they don't know what you're going to say next. So make it natural, make it as conversational as possible. And here's the other thing, get on the phone and don't even have a plan of, I've got to set an appointment or whatever. Just have a plan of like, call them and ask them about their house. The first 5 calls you make, just ask them about their house. Like, Hey, are those new windows? Hey, is that a new roof? I couldn't tell from the Zillow pictures.
Right.
And just, and then be like, thanks for telling me about your house, and hang up.
Yeah.
Total victory, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Success.
Exactly.
And then maybe on the 7th call, you go down and ask a little further, ask the next question. Hey, if the house doesn't sell, what are your plans?
Yeah.
Well, I don't
Great
know. I mean,
advice.
like, just like inch your way into it,
That's right.
because you're, instead of just sitting there staring at the phone and being petrified of it, call and just, I have a little, for years, I've had a thing that says, smile, act like you're talking to a friend.
Yeah. So good. So good.
Right? Just
My
stay
daughter,
flat.
you want to say hi? Come here. You can come in the video.
Hi.
She's home. We had a snow day here in Michigan, so she's home from the snow day. Okay.
Gotcha. We've had buckets of rain down here, but it's been like 60 degrees. So
yeah. So man, that is such.
My son's 3 and my daughter's 6. So
all right, so we're in the same boat. So that's my youngest. I got some older ones too, but 3 daughters. But that is amazing advice, Rob. How you articulated that, because the thing is, we have to, in order to gain confidence, we have to practice, right? Something most agents don't do, so that we know what to say, so that when we're on the phone, this is a huge thing. We don't have to think about what we have to say next, which allows us then to be able to listen, ask the next question, and then repetition is really the key.
Mhm.
The learning is in the doing. And so you're not going to your point, the fear never goes away, but you've got to run to that first call as quickly as possible. And as you start getting going, you'll be fine. And then the third piece of advice that you gave, which was great, was piece these calls together. First and foremost, you're going to suck in the beginning. Embrace the suck. Just do part of the script. That's why we recommend doing script 1.0 for your first 30, 60, 90 days, learning part of the script, right? Now you're building up some courage. You can continue on these conversations over time by detaching from the outcome and taking it as a, one step at a time. So what's the future hold for you and your wife? What are your guys' goals for 2021 and beyond?
Yeah, so we want to do 33 sales this year, and we really want to have at least 50% of those be listings. So I'm going really heavy into that. And then it's very interesting. I in those 4 buyers, it was amazing to me, having done all this prospecting in 2019 and 20, and kind of the business that I did get. And I'm really starting to realize I can't do it all. I can't do it all. I need help. I need to delegate. So I'm kind of in a place in my business now of, I've got to, my wife, she's great and she does some, but there's some things that just, she can't get to. So I need, it's definitely, the Keller Williams system is to get a admin 1, admin 2, potentially getting a virtual assistant, and then eventually a buyer agent to take over that side. As soon as I can get a little relief on the buyer side, because we do have people from our sphere. And another thing I want to mention too, of those 6 that we have in our contract, it was a complete mix of our business, meaning it's past client referrals. It's it was sphere, people coming from our sphere. It was actual past clients. It's for sale by owner calls. It was really neat to see that those first 6 were just this complete a circle of our business. Everybody that we've been going after has kind of occurred. So, but I really need to free up my time to be able to really focus on, because I want to become a listing-based business, and delegation is the key for me next.
Yep. And I 100% agree. And you're probably experiencing this pipeline maturity that we talk about. It's all this work that you've done that's all coming to fruition now that allowed you to put 6 properties under contract in January. And hopefully that continues to be the trend for you. And as you delegate more, I guess I'll leave you and the audience with this, based on Gary Keller's book, that is designed to allow you to do yet more lead generation, not less, which that's the part that agents miss. They hire leverage, right? And now they've got some more free time. They don't utilize the free time to be productive. They spend it in doing more non-dollar productive activities. Huge mistake, because now you've got a real expense with admins and virtual assistants and all these other things, Well, you could turn that into a profit center if you turn that time into lead generation. And I think that you know that 100%. So,
For
Rob,
sure.
this has been a lot of fun, man. I'm excited to watch your career. Any last words of inspiration for agents as we get into this 2021 market?
Go for it. Just go for it. That's all I
I
got.
love it.
Just do it. Burn the bridges, or burn the boats, and just
That's
go for it.
right. Well, man, I'm so excited for you and your wife. I think you guys are going to have your best year ever in real estate. And maybe we'll do this again in a year and we'll kind of recap 2021. Does that sound fair?
I'd love to. Yeah, that'd be great.
All right, brother. Talk to you soon, man. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Take care.
Yep. Bye-bye.